Synchronicity, the mystery of meaningful coincidences. Today, we're diving deep into one of Carl Jung's most fascinating and mysterious concepts, synchronicity, the idea of meaningful coincidences. It's a concept that challenges the conventional understanding of cause and effect, blending science with the mystical, the spiritual with the psychological. But what exactly is synchronicity? How does it shape our understanding of reality? And what does it reveal about the hidden forces that guide our lives? In this video, we're going to explore Jung's synchronicity, its philosophical underpinnings, psychological implications, and how it might just change the way you perceive the world around you. Let's journey into the realm of meaningful coincidences. Carl Jung, a figure often regarded as one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, introduced many ideas that reshaped our understanding of the human psyche. However, one of his most fascinating and elusive contributions was his theory of synchronicity, a concept that continues to stir debates and intrigue even today. At its core, synchronicity is the idea that there are meaningful coincidences in our lives that seem to defy the traditional laws of cause and effect. These are events that, on the surface, appear completely unrelated, but somehow come together in a way that feels deeply significant to the person experiencing them. Imagine for a moment that you've been thinking about a particular person, a friend you haven't seen in years, and suddenly they call you out of the blue. Or you might be grappling with a tough decision in your life, and then you encounter an unexpected situation or person that provides exactly the insight you needed. These are examples of what Jung referred to as meaningful coincidences, where the timing and context seem so perfect that it feels like the universe is speaking directly to you. For instance, let's say you've been considering making a major life change, such as switching careers or moving to a new city. In the midst of this inner conflict, you find yourself reading an article about someone who made the exact same decision you're contemplating, and it resonates deeply with you. The coincidence of reading this article at that precise moment might seem ordinary, but to you it feels like a sign. This is the essence of synchronicity, a meaningful event that unfolds in your life at the exact right moment, often bringing a sense of clarity, insight, or direction. Jung introduced the term synchronicity in 1952 in his essay Synchronicity and a Causal Connecting Principle. But his interest in this phenomenon started much earlier, when he experienced, personally and professionally, events that could not be explained by rational cause and effect reasoning. Jung's exploration of synchronicity wasn't just a theoretical pursuit. It was deeply rooted in his own personal experiences. He had his own encounters with meaningful coincidences, which led him to ask questions about the nature of reality itself. One notable incident involved his patient, a woman who was undergoing analysis for a deep emotional trauma. Jung was attempting to help her confront her repressed feelings, but progress was slow, and she was stuck in a place of resistance. At one point, during a particularly intense therapy session, the patient described a dream in which she was given a golden scarab. In a surprising turn of events, as the patient was speaking, Jung heard a tapping on the window. He opened it to find a large scarab beetle, an insect that is often associated with rebirth and transformation in Egyptian mythology, hovering outside. Jung immediately brought the insect into the room, showing it to the woman. The symbolism was obvious. This scarab, appearing in the exact moment the patient was discussing the dream, seemed to be a direct connection between her unconscious and the outer world. Jung believed that this event was a perfect example of synchronicity, an event that had no direct cause but was incredibly meaningful for the patient's healing process. This moment with the scarab was pivotal as it led the patient to experience a breakthrough, showing that the unconscious mind could communicate with the outer world in ways that defy logical explanation. For Jung, this wasn't just a coincidence. It was a causal connection between the inner and outer realities, showing a deeper interconnectedness that transcended time and space. It's important to note that Jung didn't see synchronicity as something supernatural or mystical, nor did he view it as an event that could be scientifically measured. Instead, he considered it a psychological phenomenon, a window into the deeper order of the universe, one that was beyond the reach of causal laws. He believed that synchronicity occurred when the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious intersected with the events in the external world, creating a sense of meaning that resonated on a deep, intuitive level. Jung's personal experiences with synchronicity, along with his growing interest in the mystical and spiritual aspects of life, led him to broaden his understanding of psychology. He began to see the psyche not just as an individual, isolated experience, but as a part of a larger, interconnected system that spanned the entirety of human existence. For Jung, synchronicity represented a bridge between the inner world of the unconscious and the outer world of external reality, showing how events could be linked in ways that transcended mere chance. One of the reasons Jung found synchronicity so compelling is that it challenges the traditional scientific worldview. For centuries, science has been based on the idea that everything happens for a reason, that events are governed by cause and effect, and that reality is predictable and rational. Synchronicity, however, doesn't conform to this model. It suggests that some events in life are not caused by anything in the conventional sense, but instead are connected in a way that is beyond our understanding of physics and logic. This doesn't mean that we discard science altogether. It simply invites us to expand our view of reality to include experiences that don't always fit into the framework of traditional science. In fact, Jung believed that meaningful coincidences were an essential part of the human experience because they reveal a deeper psychic order that operates behind the surface of everyday life. Through synchronicity, we are shown glimpses of a unified reality, one that is governed not just by the visible material world, but also by an invisible, metaphysical dimension, a dimension where the laws of causality may not apply, but the meaning of events is crystal clear. Synchronicity, in this way, is not just a philosophical concept or an abstract theory. It's something that can be experienced personally by anyone. It invites us to look beyond the everyday world of linear time and ordinary cause and effect reasoning and into a deeper, more interconnected existence where meaning and pattern emerge from the most unlikely of places. So the next time you find yourself caught in a seemingly random event that resonates with your inner life, take a moment to ask, could this be synchronicity? Is there a deeper meaning hidden within this coincidence? According to Jung, the answer is yes. Synchronicity is not just a theory, it's an invitation to see the world in a new way, to recognize that the universe is not just a mechanical machine, but a living, breathing entity full of interwoven, meaningful connections. As we continue to explore synchronicity in the following sections, we will uncover how it fits within Jung's broader psychological theories, how it relates to the concept of the collective unconscious, and how it can offer us profound insights into our personal lives. To understand Jung's theory of synchronicity in its full depth, we must take a journey through the philosophical influences that shaped his thinking. Jung didn't arrive at the idea of synchronicity in a vacuum. His ideas were deeply shaped by the philosophical currents of his time, as well as his engagement with Eastern philosophy, Western metaphysics, and even quantum physics. These philosophical roots are crucial to understanding why Jung believed that meaningful coincidences could occur in our lives. At the heart of Jung's philosophy is the idea that the universe is not fragmented, but rather unified, connected by deep, hidden patterns that transcend the ordinary understanding of reality. This idea aligns with some of the most ancient and enduring philosophical traditions, particularly Eastern philosophy, as well as ideas in Western metaphysics that suggest the world operates through deeper, unseen forces. Eastern philosophy and the Tao, unity of opposites. One of the most significant influences on Jung's thinking about synchronicity came from Eastern philosophy, especially Taoism and Buddhism. These ancient traditions emphasize the idea of unity and interconnectedness, the belief that everything in the universe is interconnected, and that all of life is part of a greater whole. In Taoism, this is often expressed through the concept of the Tao, which is the fundamental principle that flows through everything in the universe. The Tao is not a god or an entity, but rather an impersonal force that governs all things, including our thoughts and actions. In Taoism, there's also the idea of yin and yang, the belief that opposing forces are not antagonistic but complementary, that light and dark, masculine and feminine, life and death are all part of a cyclic balance. This idea of unity through duality deeply influenced Jung's thinking, especially in his understanding of synchronicity. Jung often spoke of the need for humans to integrate opposing forces within themselves, such as the conscious and unconscious, the masculine and feminine, or the rational and irrational. He believed that these opposing forces could not be ignored, but must be integrated to form a whole self. This integration of opposites was also central to the concept of individuation, Jung's process of psychological development. In this sense, synchronicity could be seen as an expression of the balance between opposites, where seemingly unrelated events come together in a meaningful way, bringing balance and harmony to the psyche. The Taoist view of reality also influenced Jung's understanding of synchronicity as flowing with the natural rhythm of life. Just as in Taoism, where the concept of Wu Wei, the art of non-doing, or effortless action, emphasizes the idea of flowing with the current of life, Jung viewed synchronicity as a way of understanding the way life naturally unfolds, beyond the rigid linear constraints of cause and effect. Synchronicity, like the Tao, is not something we can force or control. It simply arises in the most serendipitous and harmonious of ways, revealing patterns of meaning in our lives. While Eastern philosophy provided Jung with the foundational ideas of unity and interconnection, he was also deeply influenced by Western philosophy, particularly the work of Immanuel Kant and Arthur Schopenhauer. These two philosophers played an important role in shaping Jung's understanding of the mind, perception, and reality itself. The German philosopher Immanuel Kant was one of the first thinkers to argue that we can never truly know the things in themselves, the world as it exists independent of our perceptions. Instead, Kant suggested that we only know the world as it appears to us, shaped by our sensory experience and cognitive faculties. According to Kant, the structure of our mind actively shapes and limits the way we perceive the external world. Jung was deeply influenced by Kant's ideas about human perception and reality. He believed that our consciousness could only perceive a fraction of the world, shaped by our personal experiences, our culture, and our unconscious minds. For Jung, the unconscious was a powerful force that shaped not just individual psychology, but also the collective human experience, the collective unconscious. Synchronicity in this context becomes a way of transcending the limitations of ordinary perception. It provides a glimpse into a deeper reality that cannot be perceived by the conscious mind alone. These meaningful coincidences are, in a way, openings into a broader, hidden dimension of reality, one that is beyond the grasp of conventional cause and effect. Arthur Schopenhauer, another major influence on Jung, took Kant's ideas a step further. Schopenhauer argued that the world is fundamentally driven by an irrational will, a force that underlies all existence. This will is not a conscious decision-making force, but rather an unconscious force that shapes all of life's events. For Schopenhauer, the will is the primordial drive that pushes everything in the universe forward, from the growth of plants to the actions of humans. Jung found this idea compelling, especially as he developed his own theories about the unconscious mind. He saw the unconscious as not just a repository of repressed memories or feelings, but as a dynamic and purposeful force that shapes our lives in ways that often transcend our conscious understanding. The concept of synchronicity, in this light, can be understood as a manifestation of the unconscious will. Just as Schopenhauer believed that the will operates beyond our conscious awareness, Jung proposed that synchronicity arises from an unconscious connection between the individual and the world around them. The events that we perceive as meaningful coincidences may, in fact, be reflections of the unconscious forces at work within us, guiding us towards self-awareness or personal transformation. The influence of quantum physics, uncertainty, and non-locality. In the early 20th century, quantum mechanics was making groundbreaking strides in our understanding of the physical world, particularly with the discovery of quantum entanglement. This concept suggests that particles can be instantaneously connected with one another, no matter how far apart they are in space. This idea of non-locality seemed to mirror Jung's understanding of how the inner and outer worlds are connected in ways that defy the conventional laws of cause and effect. Jung was fascinated by the implications of quantum mechanics, and he saw parallels between the mysterious connections that occur in the quantum realm and the meaningful coincidences he observed in the psychological world. While he did not claim that synchronicity could be directly proven through quantum physics, he did suggest that quantum theory might offer a framework for understanding how events in the physical world could be linked in ways that transcend space, time, and causality. For Jung, the notion of non-causality in quantum mechanics, where particles could influence each other across vast distances, seemed to validate the idea that meaningful events could also be non-causal, yet still meaningfully connected. This overlap between quantum physics and his theories of synchronicity was something Jung explored with the physicist Wolfgang Pauli, who was a pioneer in quantum theory. Pauli and Jung had an ongoing correspondence, discussing how the emerging discoveries in quantum mechanics might shed light on the causal connections that Jung saw in synchronicity. Ultimately, these philosophical influences led Jung to see synchronicity as a bridge between two worlds, the inner world of the psyche and the outer world of physical reality. Both worlds are governed by deeper principles, the unconscious and the collective unconscious in the psyche, and the hidden laws of nature in the physical world. Synchronicity, for Jung, is a manifestation of these deeper laws, revealing the interconnectedness between the personal and the collective, the unconscious and the conscious, the spiritual and the material. Jung's synthesis of Eastern thought, Western philosophy, and quantum physics provided the framework for understanding synchronicity as not just an isolated phenomenon, but as part of a broader, unified reality where meaningful coincidences reveal the deeper patterns that connect us all. In order to understand how synchronicity functions, it's essential to dive deeper into Carl Jung's concept of the unconscious mind, which is the bedrock of his psychological theories. For Jung, the unconscious isn't merely a passive storehouse for forgotten memories or repressed desires. Instead, it's a dynamic force, brimming with powerful symbols, patterns, and drives that shape our behavior, perception, and experiences, often in ways we're unaware of. Jung's theory of synchronicity cannot be fully understood without first examining how the unconscious mind functions and how it interconnects with the outer world to create meaningful coincidences. The unconscious mind, personal and collective. Jung made a crucial distinction between two levels of the unconscious, the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. The personal unconscious is made up of the thoughts, memories, and experiences that have been repressed or forgotten over time. These are not things we consciously choose to forget. Rather, they are experiences that we've blocked out or that have been pushed aside because they were emotionally too painful or disturbing. Jung believed that while these contents are not accessible to the conscious mind, they continue to influence our behavior and perception in subtle but profound ways. Take, for example, an individual who had a traumatic experience in childhood, like the loss of a parent. The memory of this event may be repressed into the unconscious, but its emotional impact remains in the background, influencing that person's adult relationships. This person may unknowingly seek out relationships that mirror the pain they experienced, perpetuating patterns of behavior that are tied to that repressed memory. These unconscious forces can shape the way we respond to new situations, often without us realizing it. In the context of synchronicity, Jung argued that the personal unconscious could communicate with the conscious mind through meaningful coincidences. These events are not random, but are deeply connected to the unconscious material that needs to be brought into awareness. Synchronicity may occur when the unconscious mind presents a symbol or image from our personal past, often in the form of a seemingly unrelated external event that invites us to address unresolved emotions or issues. Collective unconscious. However, Jung didn't stop at the personal unconscious. He introduced the revolutionary concept of the collective unconscious, which is a shared universal layer of the unconscious that is not shaped by personal experience, but by the inherited experiences of humanity. According to Jung, the collective unconscious consists of archetypes, primordial images and patterns that are present in every human being, regardless of culture, time, or place. These archetypes represent the fundamental structures of the human experience and include universal symbols such as the hero, the shadow, the anima, animus, and many others. The collective unconscious is, in many ways, the deepest layer of the human psyche. It's where the universal experiences of all humanity are stored, shaping our shared mythology, folklore, religion, and even our dreams. These archetypes are not specific to any individual, but are part of our shared psychological inheritance. Jung believed that synchronicity could be understood as a manifestation of these archetypes, the universal symbols of the collective unconscious coming to life in the external world. When an individual experiences synchronicity, they are often encountering an archetype, which appears in the form of a symbolic event or coincidence that speaks directly to their personal experience. This might be an external event that connects with an unconscious archetype they are currently grappling with, such as encountering a shadow figure in their life or being confronted with a challenge that forces them to face their anima or animus. How the unconscious creates synchronicity. Jung saw synchronicity as a communication between the unconscious and the conscious mind. The unconscious is constantly at work beneath the surface of our awareness, processing information, forming symbols, and storing personal and collective memories. The meaningful coincidences we experience are the surface manifestation of this hidden process, emerging into the conscious mind as patterns of meaning. These synchronistic events occur when the unconscious mind connects our internal, psychological state with external events in the world. There is a mysterious alignment between what is happening inside our psyche and what is happening outside in the world. This alignment doesn't adhere to the typical rules of cause and effect, but instead occurs through what Jung called the acausal connecting principle. For example, consider a situation where you're facing an important decision in life, perhaps deciding whether to change careers or leave a relationship. Your conscious mind is preoccupied with the options in front of you, but your unconscious mind is quietly processing deeper emotions, fears, and desires. At the exact moment when you're struggling with uncertainty, you might come across a book, a conversation, or a piece of art that presents the exact information or insight you need to make your decision. You may even feel as if this external event was meant to happen, as it provides the missing piece of the puzzle. This experience is not a random coincidence. It is a synchronistic connection between your unconscious processing and the external world. The synchronicity is an attempt by the unconscious to bring something to your attention, a message that is not conveyed through linear cause and effect, but through meaningful coincidence. The role of symbols in synchronicity. Symbols play a key role in how synchronicity manifests. Jung believed that symbols are the language of the unconscious. They are the bridge between the conscious and unconscious minds, allowing deeper meanings to be communicated in a way that transcends words or rational thought. When synchronicity occurs, it is often a symbolic event, a dream symbol, a random image, or a coincidental encounter that carries profound meaning. For instance, a person struggling with self-worth might dream of a dragon, a classic symbol of power and transformation. Then the person might encounter a dragon motif in a book, a piece of jewelry, or even a random advertisement in the street. The appearance of the dragon symbol outside of the dream is not a coincidence. It is a message from the unconscious, nudging the individual toward a deeper understanding of their inner strength and potential. In another example, someone might be considering a difficult life change, like moving to a new city. They may find that everywhere they go, they keep seeing images of the city on billboards, in movies, in conversations. This symbolic manifestation of the city is a form of synchronicity, signaling that the unconscious mind is drawing the individual's attention to the idea of change, possibly indicating that it's time to take action. Synchronicity and the process of individuation. For Jung, synchronicity is deeply tied to the process of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming the fullest version of oneself. Individuation involves integrating the unconscious mind with the conscious mind, allowing the individual to become more self-aware, balanced, and whole. This process requires facing and integrating the shadow, the unconscious aspects of ourselves we repress or deny, embracing both the masculine and feminine energies within and coming into contact with the archetypes of the collective unconscious. Synchronicity, in this context, is a tool for individuation. The meaningful coincidences we experience are often guiding us along our path of personal growth. They act as signposts, showing us where we are on our journey and what areas of our unconscious selves we need to explore or confront. For example, An individual might experience a synchronicity involving a particular archetype, such as the shadow or the wise old man, that helps them address unresolved psychological issues. Through synchronicity, the unconscious mind communicates what is needed for the process of self-actualization. These experiences of meaningful coincidence push us toward self-awareness, urging us to pay attention to the deeper aspects of our psyche that may have been neglected or hidden from our conscious awareness. Synchronicity as a window into the unconscious. Ultimately, synchronicity provides us with a window into the unconscious, both the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious, offering us a way to see beyond the everyday linear world of cause and effect and into the mysterious depths of the psyche. It reveals how the unconscious mind influences our experience of the world, and how events in our external environment may be deeply connected to our inner emotional and psychological state. When we experience synchronicity, we're not just witnessing an isolated coincidence. We're participating in a dynamic conversation between the conscious and unconscious, between the inner and outer worlds. These events are not random or meaningless. They are messages from the unconscious, urging us to pay attention to the patterns, symbols, and meanings that lie beneath the surface of our everyday lives. As we continue to explore how synchronicity operates, we'll see how it connects to the deeper philosophical and scientific dimensions of reality, and how it can guide us toward greater self-awareness and personal transformation. As we've explored so far, synchronicity is often thought of as a psychological or philosophical concept, but Jung also sought to understand it in the context of science, particularly as quantum mechanics and the emerging field of nonlinear dynamics began to challenge the old Newtonian view of the world. Jung didn't claim to provide a scientific explanation for synchronicity in the traditional sense, but he saw synchronicity as a bridge between the rational world of science and the irrational world of the unconscious. His exploration of synchronicity brought him to the realm of quantum physics, where he saw intriguing parallels between the mysterious connections that occur in the physical world and the meaningful coincidences in the psychological world. Jung and quantum mechanics, a search for the acausal. One of the most fascinating aspects of Jung's work on synchronicity was his interaction with quantum physicists, particularly his correspondence with Wolfgang Pauli, one of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics. Pauli was intrigued by Jung's ideas, especially the notion of acausal connections and how they might relate to the fundamental principles of quantum physics. At the heart of quantum mechanics lies the idea that particles can be entangled, meaning that the state of one particle can instantaneously affect the state of another particle, no matter how far apart they are in space. This phenomenon, known as quantum entanglement, defies the classical understanding of causality, the principle that events should have clear and observable causes. In traditional physics, if two particles are separated by vast distances, any change in one particle would take time to propagate across space. Yet in quantum mechanics, entangled particles seem to communicate with each other instantaneously, across seemingly vast distances, a concept that challenges the established laws of physics. Jung saw a connection between quantum entanglement and the idea of synchronicity, where events in the physical world could be meaningfully connected without any direct, observable cause. While Jung did not attempt to apply quantum physics directly to psychology, he believed that quantum theory's non-locality, the idea that particles can be connected without being in physical proximity, offered a model for how meaningful coincidences might arise in human experience. To Jung, synchronicity wasn't just about random chance. It was about hidden connections that transcended the physical laws of time and space, and quantum entanglement seemed to offer a physical model for these non-causal relationships. Pauli and Jung, in their private conversations, both saw synchronicity as a phenomenon that could not be fully explained by traditional scientific principles. Yet they also believed that quantum mechanics might point toward a new kind of scientific framework, one that could account for these hidden, meaningful connections in both the psychological and physical realms. Nonlinearity and chaos theory. Jung wasn't the only one interested in exploring nonlinear relationships in science. In the latter half of the 20th century, scientists began to explore the world of chaos theory and nonlinear dynamics, fields that study complex systems that appear unpredictable, yet still follow underlying patterns. In chaos theory, small changes in initial conditions can lead to vastly different outcomes, often creating patterns and cycles that seem chaotic at first glance, but are actually deeply interconnected and self-organizing. A prime example of this is the concept of the butterfly effect, where a small change in one part of a system can lead to large and unpredictable changes in another part of the system, often in ways that cannot be predicted by linear cause and effect. Jung believed that synchronicity could be understood in a similar way. It is not causal in the traditional sense, where one event directly leads to another in a linear fashion. Instead, it operates within a complex system where events might appear random or disconnected, but upon closer inspection, reveal a deeper underlying order, a pattern that connects the inner world of the psyche with the outer world of physical reality. Jung's view of synchronicity is mirrored in modern chaos theory, where systems that seem random and chaotic on the surface may be governed by underlying patterns that we are not yet able to fully perceive. This idea ties into nonlinearity, the concept that events and causes don't necessarily follow a straightforward path, a view that opens the door to meaningful coincidences happening in the midst of apparent randomness. Jung saw synchronicity as a spontaneous, nonlinear phenomenon. The events may seem unrelated, but they are often part of a larger unfolding that transcends our conventional understanding of time, space, and cause and effect. The search for a unified field theory, connecting mind and matter. Jung's fascination with the interconnections between mind and matter led him to think about synchronicity in terms of a potential unified theory, a framework that could explain the relationship between the mental and the physical, between subjectivity and objectivity. In modern science, the unified field theory seeks to describe the fundamental forces of nature: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force, and the weak force, within a single framework. Currently, these forces are described by separate mathematical models, but physicists like Albert Einstein and later Stephen Hawking sought to find a theory that could unify them into a single description of reality. Jung's concept of synchronicity can be seen as a psychological analog to this quest for a unified theory. Just as scientists have sought to find a single theory that explains the interconnectedness of all forces in nature, Jung believed that synchronicity could serve as a model for understanding how the inner world of the psyche and the outer world of physical events could be connected in a unified manner. Rather than being separate and isolated from each other, Jung proposed that the psychic and physical worlds could be seen as different expressions of the same underlying reality. In this view, synchronicity represents the intersection between the conscious mind, the unconscious, and the external world, where seemingly random events align in a way that reveals hidden patterns and meanings, the limits of scientific explanation. While Jung saw the parallels between quantum mechanics, chaos theory, and synchronicity, he also acknowledged the limitations of science when it comes to explaining the mystical and mysterious aspects of human experience. Traditional science, rooted in the principles of empirical evidence and predictability, often struggles to account for phenomena that don't conform to its laws. Synchronicity, by definition, does not follow the rules of traditional causality. It cannot be measured, observed, or predicted by the methods of science. And yet, for Jung, it is no less real, perhaps even more real, because it connects us to a deeper dimension of existence that cannot be captured by rational thought alone. Jung believed that while science could explain the mechanics of the world, it could not explain the meaning behind the events that shape our lives. In his view, synchronicity represented an essential aspect of reality that science, with its emphasis on reductionism and empirical observation, could not fully grasp. This doesn't mean Jung rejected science altogether. Rather, he believed that science and mysticism could complement each other in the search for a deeper understanding of the universe. Synchronicity, in this sense, represents the boundary between the rational, measurable world of science and the irrational, meaningful world of the unconscious. Synchronicity beyond science. Jung's exploration of synchronicity challenges the conventional understanding of causality and randomness, and suggests that meaningful events in our lives are connected by deeper, non-linear principles that cannot always be explained by traditional science. While quantum mechanics, chaos theory, and the search for a unified field theory offer intriguing parallels to Jung's ideas, synchronicity remains a phenomenon that transcends our current scientific understanding. For Jung, synchronicity wasn't just a psychological curiosity or a spiritual mystery. It was a window into the deeper, interconnected fabric of reality, where mind and matter, subjectivity and objectivity are linked by hidden forces that we are just beginning to understand. It points to the possibility of a unified understanding of the universe, one that transcends the limits of scientific explanation and embraces the mystery and meaning of existence. So far, we've explored the theoretical foundations of synchronicity, from its philosophical roots to its connections with the unconscious and modern science. Now let's look at how synchronicity appears in real life, how it manifests in everyday experiences, personal stories, and profound moments of realization. By understanding how synchronicity works on a practical level, we can begin to recognize these meaningful coincidences in our own lives and explore their deeper significance. Everyday examples of synchronicity. Synchronicity doesn't always come in dramatic, life-changing moments. Sometimes it shows up in the small, seemingly ordinary events of daily life. It might appear as a coincidence, a serendipitous moment, or a pattern that seems to connect your inner world with the outer world. Here are some examples of how synchronicity can show up in subtle ways. The coincidental encounter. Imagine you're feeling overwhelmed, unsure about your current job, and contemplating whether to leave or stay. You've been thinking about the decision for weeks, but haven't spoken to anyone about it. One afternoon, while you're walking through a crowded city street, you bump into an old colleague who left the same company a year ago. They greet you and, almost as if by fate, begin sharing their own story about why they left the company and how it turned out to be the best decision they ever made. This unexpected meeting and the conversation that follows resonate deeply with you. It feels as though the universe has just sent you the guidance you needed to make a difficult decision. This type of synchronicity often seems to appear in the form of meaningful encounters, those random meetings with people who say or do exactly what you need to hear at a specific moment in your life. These encounters feel purposeful, as if they hold deeper meaning, even though they seem to occur by chance. Jung would argue that this is not just coincidence. It's a meaningful connection that reflects the hidden patterns between your inner struggles and the events happening in the outer world. The persistent symbol. Synchronicity can also manifest through symbols, repeated images, numbers, or themes that seem to appear in your life unexpectedly. These symbols may appear in dreams, in the media, or in random conversations, but they feel significant, as if they're calling your attention to something important. For example, you might be grappling with a decision in your life, perhaps unsure about pursuing a new career or moving to a new city. As you're trying to figure out what to do, you start noticing a specific number, let's say the number 7, appearing everywhere. It shows up in your phone number, the license plate of the car in front of you, and even the time on the clock. The number 7 feels like it's speaking to you, resonating with the question you've been asking yourself. In Jungian terms, this is an example of a symbolic synchronicity. The number 7, or any recurring symbol, might represent something deeper within your unconscious mind, or even an archetypal energy that is urging you to pay attention to the situation at hand. The repetition of the symbol in various forms is not mere coincidence. It is the unconscious mind's way of communicating through the external world, trying to guide you toward a deeper understanding or decision. The coincidence that clears the fog. Sometimes synchronicity can appear in ways that bring clarity in moments of confusion or uncertainty. Let's say you've been feeling stuck in your life. Perhaps you're struggling with a sense of purpose or direction, but you can't seem to figure out what you should do next. You may have been reflecting on the idea of personal growth and self-improvement, but you haven't yet made any significant changes. Then, on a casual day, you come across a book that you didn't know you needed. Perhaps it's a novel by a well-known author, or even a self-help book on personal transformation. You flip through its pages, and suddenly you come across a passage that strikes you deeply, as if it was written for you in that very moment. This passage may contain the exact insight you've been searching for, offering a new perspective or idea that shakes you out of your stagnation. This is an example of synchronicity, where an external event, a book in this case, provides exactly what you need at the right time. The timing and content of the encounter align perfectly with your inner state, helping you break through confusion or indecision. Jung would see this as a sign that your unconscious mind is attempting to direct you toward new insights and paths for growth. Personal experiences of synchronicity. While these examples may seem abstract, synchronicity is also deeply personal, and many individuals have stories of how meaningful coincidences have impacted their lives in profound ways. These experiences are often so striking that they feel like messages from the universe, or even from the unconscious mind, trying to lead us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. The dream and the real-world connection. A classic example of synchronicity occurs when a dream about a specific event, object, or person is later mirrored in the waking world. One person, for example, might have a dream about a flying bird, an image of freedom and liberation. Later that day, they may go for a walk and see a bird soaring high above, and they suddenly feel as though the bird symbolizes the freedom they need to pursue their own dreams. In this case, the dream symbol and the real-world encounter with the bird are linked by a meaningful coincidence. The bird in the dream and in reality serve as symbols of personal freedom, mirroring the person's inner struggle and desire for liberation. Jung believed that dreams often serve as a communication between the unconscious and conscious minds. When external events mirror the imagery or symbols in our dreams, it's a clear example of how the unconscious mind might use external reality to reveal deeper psychological truths, offering guidance or clarity in the process. The synchronistic decision. One person might be considering a career change, unsure of whether to take a risk and pursue a new direction. They are hesitant because they've spent years in their current field, and the security of their current job feels hard to let go of. However, one day, as they are reading a random article online, they come across the story of someone who took the same leap of faith and found great success. In the very same article, they notice a quote that strikes them deeply, a quote about embracing change and taking risks. At that very moment, a colleague walks in and shares a similar story about making a major career change and how it transformed their life. It's as if the universe, or the unconscious, is trying to confirm the message. This is the right decision. This is an example of synchronicity in decision-making. The external world, through the article, the quote, and the colleague's story, provides the exact message the individual needed to hear, confirming their inner truth and giving them the courage to move forward. Synchronicity in major life events. Synchronicity is often reported during major life events, such as the birth of a child, the end of a relationship, or even moments of profound spiritual awakening. During these times, individuals may experience a deep sense of alignment between the external events unfolding and their inner world, leading them to feel as though they are being guided by something greater than themselves. For example, someone who is going through a spiritual awakening may begin to notice that synchronistic events are occurring with greater frequency. Perhaps they begin to see certain numbers, symbols, or signs in their environment that feel deeply connected to their spiritual journey. These events may not have a logical explanation, but they seem to resonate with their current transformation, providing them with the encouragement they need to continue on their path. Jung believed that these transformative moments, whether psychological, spiritual, or existential, often coincide with archetypal energies from the collective unconscious. These energies manifest in the form of meaningful coincidences, offering individuals a sense of direction and clarity at critical moments of change and self-discovery. As we've seen in these examples, synchronicity isn't just a theoretical concept. It's something that happens in our lives, often in surprising and profound ways. It shows up in the meaningful coincidences that align our inner world with the outer world, guiding us through decisions, revealing insights, and encouraging us to trust the deeper forces at play. Recognizing synchronicity in your own life requires an open mind and a willingness to trust that meaningful connections exist between your inner psyche and the events unfolding around you. It invites us to look beyond the ordinary linear view of reality and embrace the mystery and magic of existence. When we begin to pay attention to these signs, whether in the form of dreams, encounters, symbols, or unexpected events, we start to uncover the deeper, hidden order that governs both the physical and psychological realms. Jung's concept of synchronicity teaches us to embrace the idea that the universe is not just a random, chaotic place, but a deeply interconnected reality where meaning emerges from the most unexpected of sources. By becoming more aware of these patterns and symbols in our lives, we can begin to unlock the greater wisdom that exists beneath the surface of our everyday experience. Just as this discussion has been one of synchronicity, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on the meaningful coincidences that have appeared in your own life. Even this profound message coming to you just at the right time, these moments are not just random. They are glimpses into the interconnectedness of the universe and your own inner world. Whether it's a sudden realization, an unexpected encounter, or a symbol that keeps appearing, synchronicity is calling you to pay attention. Think about the events that have shaped your life, the patterns that seem to recur, and the symbols that resonate with you. Is there a message behind them? A deeper truth you've yet to uncover? Synchronicity can guide us toward greater self-awareness, personal growth, and even spiritual insight if we are open to listening. If you found this exploration into synchronicity thought-provoking, I invite you to take action. Start observing the meaningful connections in your life. Keep an open mind and be curious about the signs the universe might be sending you. Could a synchronistic moment be trying to tell you something important? And if this video resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more thought-provoking content. I'd also love to hear your own experiences with synchronicity, whether it's a small coincidence or a life-changing moment. Share your stories in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation about the mysterious connections that shape our lives. Thank you for watching, and until next time, remember that the universe has a way of speaking to us, sometimes through coincidences, sometimes through patterns, and it's up to us to listen.